mean to love God, and how do you demonstrate it?
Amar a Dios significa obedecer su palabra, y de la manera como lo podemos demostrar es demostrándoselo a los demás, a nuestro prójimo, ¿verdad? Porque dice Jesucristo, un mandamiento nuevo os doy, que os améis los unos a los otros, ¿verdad? Entonces, y tenemos referencia a la parábola del buen samaritano, ¿verdad? Que es cuando cae uno y es golpeado, ¿verdad? Y pasan dos religiosos y el tercero, que es un samaritano, él lo ayuda. Eso es lo que significa, de la manera que lo podemos demostrar ayudando a otro.
What does the Bible say about heaven and hell?
Sí, el cielo, ¿verdad? Es un lugar de descanso, de confort, porque eso lo dice en la parábola del rico y Lázaro, ¿verdad? Que Lázaro fue llevado a los brazos de Abraham, ¿verdad? Y el infierno es un lugar de tormento, porque cuando muere el rico, va al lugar y él dice que él está atormentado en esa llama, ¿verdad? Entonces hay una gran diferencia entre el cielo y el infierno, ¿verdad?
What are the most common objectives people raise about the validity of the Bible and how a Christian can respond?
Sí, lo primero que ellos dicen, ¿verdad? Su cuestión es que cómo ellos pueden estar seguros que Dios escribió la Biblia, ¿verdad? Y eso es ellos cómo refutan contra la Biblia, ¿verdad? Entonces, pero nosotros tenemos versículos que respaldan, ¿verdad? Que la Biblia es la palabra de Dios, ¿verdad? Y es lo que dice 2 de Timoteo 3:16, ¿verdad? Dice que toda la escritura es inspirada por Dios.
What are the big differences between Christianity and the world's other major religions?
La Biblia dice que Jesucristo, ¿verdad? Fue Dios, 100% Dios y 100% hombre. Él como hombre murió, ¿verdad? Duró 3 días muerto, pero resucitó como Dios. Entonces esa es la diferencia, ¿verdad? Entre las otras religiones, que tenemos un Cristo vivo que fue a la tumba y resucitó. Entonces Cristo no está en la tumba como Mahoma, como Buda o otros personajes, ¿verdad? Que realmente no tienen un fundamento. En cambio, nosotros sí tenemos la palabra de Dios, que ella misma habla. Dios mismo habla a través de su palabra, ¿verdad? Y usó a los apóstoles, que ellos fueron, por ejemplo, el apóstol Juan dice, lo que vimos, lo que oímos, lo que palparon nuestras manos, de eso os anunciamos. O sea, quiere decir que ellos vieron la muerte y resurrección de Cristo, y eso es lo que hace diferente de las otras religiones.
What are some of your religious traditions and rituals?
Sí, en esto vamos a arreglar algo en cuestión de tradiciones y rituales. Nosotros no tenemos tradiciones ni rituales, pero sí tenemos una orden o un mandato del Señor, que es la Santa Cena, que la instituyó nuestro Señor Jesucristo, ¿verdad? Y eso la hacemos nosotros ahora en memoria de Él y esperando hasta que Él regrese por su iglesia, por su pueblo. Y también tenemos el día de resurrección, que nosotros lo celebramos también. Y también tenemos la Navidad, que eso sería como lo que ellos dicen, pero no son tradiciones ni rituales, sino hacemos algo que fue verídico.
What did you expect to see or experience prior to attending the worship service?
So prior to coming here, I expected, just the usual, a pastor coming to preach his word, or reading, kind of like basically reading off a script and not really going off any ideas. I kind of expected kind of just straightforward here's what the word is, here's what it says to do, and here's what you should do, and that's pretty much it.
Did your experience match up with your expectations?
Honestly, everything was pretty close to what I expected. It's just the way the pastor led the service and the way people interacted in the church was very eye-opening in a way. And something I didn't really expect was how well the pastor went in depth with every verse he talked about and how he tried to connect those verses with everyday life.
What stood out to you from this worship service?
Honestly, the hospitality of all the people, because when I first got here, you know, it's a new experience. You don't really expect to be, I expected to see other people trying to help me come in, but the way that people actually went out of their way for me and invited me in, sat me down, explained how things were gonna work, you know, just the general niceness of people in the church to get me involved with not only the service, but afterwards, you know, it's all stood out for me.
What was your main takeaway from this experience?
It's the way the pastor conveys his words and how it impacted not only me, who was a new person in the church, but everyone who's probably been going to the church a couple of years now.
Hello, we are here at the Iglesia Bautismo Hispanic Americana Church, which translates to the Hispanic Church of Baptism. So our first question is, what did we expect before the service?
I expected the church to be very welcoming and to have greeters, which it did.
I expected it not to be super crowded, and the people to be welcoming as well. The second question would be, did your experiences match your expectation before the sermon? What do y'all think?
I thought the pastor would be like more interactive with the audience, you know, come out to us.
More enthusiastic too about,
like, he would want to have a connection with his like congregation, and he didn't. He stayed in his pulpit and wasn't very interactive
with the rest of us.
And I didn't think there was gonna be that much singing.
Yeah, the
there
first
was
20 minutes was just singing.
I thought they would break it up, like have 10 minutes of worship in the beginning, and then after the pastor like leaves the stage, then they would have singing and then like offering and things like that.
Their singing was beautiful though, I would admit.
Yeah,
the singing was
songs.
nice, but that was like the first thing once you
enter?
Like the moment you enter, they immediately started with the singing.
Oh, what I didn't expect was for the whole sermon and singing to be in Spanish.
Yes, everything was in Spanish.
Yeah,
so I did not understand anything.
Yeah, but luckily Cesar helped us with some of the translation, but overall, like, there were some gaps that we didn't understand, so there was a disconnect there.
But y'all did understand, like, the main point of.
So we got the main points, but everything, like, you know, filling in the gaps. But
the third question, the final question, would be, what stood out to you from the sermon? So, what stood out to me was everybody just professional in a way, with like, they all had button-ups, all looked like they were ready to go to church and take it seriously.
It wasn't like, I think
church, it wasn't casual.
Yeah, like normally, I guess churches nowadays, they're more casual, it's more come as you are, but for like this church, it was very much, you have to dress up, like wear professional looking clothes, and I
dress
think
nice, look your best.
Yeah, Sunday's best.
Dress to impress.
Yes.
I'm also, what stood out to me was they had drinks and food for everyone, which is very nice of them. You know, all the people could grab a bite or have a drink before the service started.
They also like were very family oriented, so they have like a big kid population, like, you know, they have a playground and like children's ministry. So
from this service, I expect to see a lot of singing and praying, as well as noticing people feel God's presence through the prayers. My experience were met. There were a lot of praying in between categories like the start of the service, after singing, after reading the Bible, and of course after the service ended. There were a lot of singing as expected. It lasted about 20 minutes long, and I could see the people feeling God's presence by the way their facial expressions were and their physical actions, like raising their hands in the air. What stood out to me from the service was the message that the preacher gave. He talked about how every living thing in this world experience and never stop feeling thirsty and hungry, which should be the same as saying we should always feel the want and need to be hungry for the Word of God, to feel His presence and to need Him every day, because if we feel hungry and starve ourselves, we might lose ourselves and we become a different person physically, mentally, and in this case, spiritually. The main takeaway from this experience is that we need God for everything. Our life will be difficult if we do not include God in our plans. Just how we get hungry and thirsty, we need to feel the same way with God. Unless you are not full with God and His words, you will never be satisfied. Not just praying and singing, it's more than that, like attending church, fasting towards a purpose, and just feeding ourselves to feel peace and joy spiritually and staying consistent with it.